Have you ever just paused and thought about one of those really big questions in faith? Like, do we actually choose our path, or is it already kind of laid out for us? It's a question that digs right into, well, what it means to believe, maybe even what it means to be human. Today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, one of Christianity's most debated topics, predestination versus free will. Our mission really is to explore this dynamic, this divine tension. We're going to look at what Scripture actually says, on both sides, and try to understand why it's still such a huge and honestly captivating subject for so many people. Think of us as guides, helping you navigate these different scriptural views. Some seem almost contradictory, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. And what's fascinating right from the start is that this isn't simple. It's not an either thing, really. We're talking about a divine mystery here, something theologians and, well, everyday believers have wrestled with for literally centuries. So our goal today isn't to solve it, definitely not. It's more about exploring the texts impartially and showing why understanding both sides, giving each its proper weight, actually makes our understanding richer, not weaker. It's about the complexity.
Okay, let's dive in then. Let's unpack the first major viewpoint. Some Christians have very strong belief in predestination. So, what's the core idea there?
Well, essentially, it's the understanding that God, drawing on his complete sovereignty, his infinite wisdom, he has already chosen who will be saved.
Already chosen, like before we even existed.
Exactly. Before the foundation of the world, as Scripture puts it, it forces you to consider just how vast God's plan might be. For those holding this view, salvation isn't partly our work and partly God's. No, it's seen as completely God's work, from start to finish.
Okay, and why is that? What's the thinking behind it?
Well, a key argument is based on the idea of human nature after the fall. The perspective is that in our natural state, we're kind of spiritually broken. This fallen nature means we're inclined towards sin, and we actually lack the inherent desire or ability to seek God on our own.
So we wouldn't even want to choose God without him acting first.
That's the core of the argument, yes. Proponents would say that without God's prior initiating grace, we are simply incapable of making that truly free move towards him. So this view really emphasizes God's absolute power, his omnipotence, and his control over everything, including, ultimately, salvation.
And there's specific scripture behind this, right? It's not just a philosophical idea.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
deeply rooted in the texts. Take Romans chapter 9, verse 15, for instance. There, God says, and this is powerful, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion.
On whom I will have mercy.
Precisely. The key thing there is how unconditional it sounds. It suggests God's choice is free, sovereign. It isn't based on anything in us, not our merits, not something he foresees us doing. It points solely to his will. It kind of challenges that notion that we can kickstart our own salvation.
Okay, I see. What else?
Then look at Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4. It says, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world.
Before the foundation of the world. Wow.
Yeah. That phrase is hugely significant for this viewpoint.
Oh, wow.
It underlines the eternal nature of the choice, pre-temporal. It suggests God's decision wasn't a reaction to things happening in time, but something set in eternity past, before creation, before any human choice.
Like a divine plan laid out before anyone even existed.
Exactly. It paints a picture of God's purpose unfolding across time, but originating outside of it.
That idea,
Yeah.
being chosen before time itself, it's huge. It feels almost overwhelming. How do people who believe this reconcile it with, feeling like they make choices every day?
Our sense of agency? That's a really insightful question. And you're right, on the surface, it might seem like it diminishes our choices. But interestingly, for many proponents of predestination, it's actually a source of immense comfort.
Comfort. How so?
Well, think about it. If your salvation ultimately rests not on your own shaky efforts or feelings, but on God's perfect, unchanging will and sovereign plan, that can remove a huge burden.
Okay, so it shifts the focus from personal striving to divine faithfulness.
Precisely. It can lead to deeper humility, a greater reliance on God. It often doesn't lead to fatalism, thinking, oh, well, doesn't matter what I do. Instead, it can free people up to serve God, to share their faith, trusting that he is the one ultimately bringing about his purposes.
So paradoxically, it can actually increase motivation and peace.
For many, yes. Knowing there's a bigger, perfect plan unfolding can be incredibly grounding.
Okay, that's a powerful perspective. But
Yeah.
here's where it gets really interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's this whole other side to the conversation. Let's pivot now. Many Christians strongly emphasize free will. A very different feel.
Absolutely. A robust counter-narrative, you could say. This perspective argues that, yes, God offers salvation, he makes it possible. But ultimately, the decision rests with each individual to accept that offer or to reject it.
So the emphasis shifts dramatically towards human agency, our ability to choose.
Exactly. It highlights our capacity to make real choices with genuine, eternal consequences. The idea is that God's invitation is broad, it's universal, but the response is personal. This really champions human responsibility, and for many, the authentic nature of a relationship with God, one that isn't predetermined.
And just like predestination, this view has strong scriptural support too.
Definitely. Think about Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. It's a direct command, very clear. Choose you this day whom you will serve.
Choose you. It's an active instruction.
It is. It's an imperative, a challenge to the people then, and arguably to us now to actively decide. It implies God respects our capacity to choose and even expects us to use it.
And then there's perhaps the most famous verse of all.
John 3.16. It's almost the cornerstone for this perspective for many people. For God so loves the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life.
And the key word there is
Whosoever. It's incredibly inclusive. It doesn't say the chosen or the elect specifically in this context, but whosoever believeth.
implying access for anyone who believes.
Right. It points towards an open invitation. Salvation is available to anyone who takes that step of belief. It makes individual faith the crucial active element. The door, in this view, is open to all. It's our choice to walk through it.
Okay. And the underlying argument here often is about the nature of love, isn't it?
Yes, that's a very powerful part of the free will argument. The idea is that genuine love requires genuine choice. If we were just programmed to love God like robots following a script, could that really be called love?
Probably not. It feels less meaningful if there's no option.
Exactly. Proponents argue that for love to be real, authentic, it has to include the freedom not to love, the freedom to choose otherwise. So this view often portrays God as a loving father who desires a real relationship built on voluntary affection, not forced obedience.
It's fascinating how that emphasis on whosoever and choice really changes the dynamic. But here's a question that often comes up. If it really boils down to our choice, doesn't that make salvation sound like something we achieve? Like we earn it by making the right decision instead of it being a gift? How do free will advocates handle that?
That's a really important point and definitely a potential misunderstanding. The key insight from the free will perspective is that emphasizing our choice doesn't cancel out God's grace. It explains how grace is received.
Okay, how so?
They would say salvation is absolutely 100% a gift. It's totally unearned. Our choice isn't about earning it. It's about accepting the gift that God is freely offering to everyone.
Like receiving a present. You still have to reach out and take it.
Precisely. It's like being invited to an amazing banquet. The host provides everything, pays for everything, sets the table, but you still have to choose to RSVP yes and actually show up. Your yes doesn't pay for the meal, it just accepts the host's generosity. So it's not about human merit earning salvation, but human response accepting grace.
Okay, that clarifies the distinction. So we have these two powerful perspectives. Predestination, God's sovereign choice before time. Free will, our crucial decision in time. Both seem to have strong scriptural backing. So which is it? How can both possibly be true at the same time? They feel like they pull in opposite directions.
And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? That's the heart of the tension. Because the somewhat challenging truth is, Scripture seems to present both, side by side.
Both. So it's not an either we need to solve.
Not necessarily. It might be more accurate to see it as a profound theological tension, a paradox even, something we're meant to hold together rather than choose between. The Bible clearly affirms God's total sovereignty, his ultimate control over history, creation, everything, including salvation. And yet, in the very same scriptures, it holds human beings accountable for their choices, responsible for their faith, their actions.
It doesn't seem to see a contradiction there.
It doesn't seem to, no. It presents both as true. And harmonizing them perfectly with our human logic, well, that's proven incredibly difficult, maybe impossible.
A divine mystery, as you said earlier.
Exactly. A divine mystery that, frankly, has kept theologians humble for centuries. It's one of those points where our finite human minds bump up against the infinite nature of God. We like things neat, linear, logical, either A or B. But maybe divine reality operates with a more complex, paradoxical logic, both A and B.
And this isn't just theory, right? It affects how people live their faith.
Oh, profoundly. If you look at church history, Different traditions lean into one side more than the other, and it shapes their practice. For instance, some traditions, like historical Calvinism, really lean into God's sovereignty. That can bring immense peace, especially in suffering, trusting God's ultimate plan is in control.
Hmm.
Other traditions, like Arminianism, emphasize free will. That often fuels incredible passion for evangelism, this belief that every single person truly has a chance to hear and respond to the gospel message.
So different emphases lead to different strengths.
You could say that. And maybe one key takeaway from all these centuries of debate is that trying to definitively solve the paradox to eliminate one side often leads to theological imbalances. Maybe embracing the tension is actually healthier.
Healthier in what way?
It might lead to a more balanced, robust, and ultimately more humble faith, one that acknowledges God's power and our responsibility.
It really does highlight how vast God must be if his ways can encompass things that seem contradictory to us. So it raises this important question for all of us listening. Instead of forcing a simple answer, what if the real depth comes from holding both truths, acknowledging God is completely sovereign, and our choices are real, they matter profoundly? What stands out to you about that idea, that paradoxical harmony?
I think it's a crucial shift. Maybe the beauty is in holding both. Understanding God's ultimate control while still actively, responsibly making our choices day by day, it helps avoid extremes. On one side, you avoid fatalism, thinking nothing matters. On the other, you avoid this crushing burden of thinking salvation is entirely up to us, our effort.
Right.
It really invites us into a place of intellectual humility, admitting we don't have all the answers, that some divine truths go beyond our simple logic. And often it's in that humility that faith grows deeper, more mature.
So we've taken quite a journey here, a real deep dive into one of Christianity's biggest, most enduring questions. We've looked at the scriptural arguments for predestination, for God's sovereign choice. And we've explored the case for free will, for our necessary response. Our goal was really just to unpack the sources, show you the different facets presented in Scripture.
And hopefully show that wrestling with these big questions isn't something that weakens faith. Often it does the opposite. Connecting this to the bigger picture, grappling with divine mysteries like this, it pushes us deeper into Scripture, makes us think harder about God's nature. It reminds us there are aspects of God and his plans that are just beyond us. And that's okay. There's always more to learn. And seeing these multiple perspectives, it really does enrich our understanding, makes it more nuanced, maybe more humble.
So we'll leave you with this thought to mull over. What do you think? Are we chosen before time began, or do we make the crucial choice ourselves? Or perhaps the more profound question is this: how does embracing that tension, living with both truths instead of demanding a single answer, how does that change how you see faith, how you see responsibility, or even just how vast and mysterious God truly is? Something to think about. Let that mystery deepen your wonder.